Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me here on Pop Goes the 60s. Today, I have a special guest. It is Plastic EP. He is an entertainer and an archivist of all kinds of pop culture. Welcome, Plastic EP.
Welcome, and I'm glad to be on this show because it's one of my favorites. And I'll tell you, I've seen so many of your shows that, it really impresses me, Matt, because if you remember, I reached out to you to tell you what a fantastic show you actually do. I love all the material that you cover. I like it that you're a very big investigative kind of like, how can I say, journalist. Like I'm going towards that now, but I find like you do your research, it's all proper. You take on any topic and you got no fear. I love that. You just like go for it. That's like me. Go for it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I found you as well. And I've actually, for those of you who don't know Plastic EP's work, he has done 800 shows, 800 different interviews in the past roughly 2.5 years. And he interviews some of the best, all kinds of band members from the 60s, television stars, directors. We're going to talk about a little bit of some of the people he's had on his videos that he does here. And but first, I want everybody to know he is calling from Melbourne, Australia. So he's halfway across the world. He's a half a day earlier than I am. So I appreciate you making time to join me.
Because what I'm very good at is finding stuff that no one knows. That's my specialty. It's just not a matter. I just find someone and say, let's do an interview. I'll give you an example. There's something called a fretless guitar, right? It's the Beatles' rarest guitar. The rarest guitar, no one knows about it. It was used on the White Album.
Yes.
It played on Helter Skelter. It played on Happiness is a Warm Gun. And I've also got to tell you, with the title of Happiness is the Warm Gun, I did another interview with a collector that's actually got an acetate of the song. And the actual real title of the song was Happiness is a Warm Gun in Your Hand. That's the full title of the song. So what I love is all these bits and pieces just come together. I found out about it. And then I bring that story, which is Beatle related, in 2022. You know how hard it is to find something fresh about from 1967 that no one knew about, and give it out to the UK. And give it out to the UK and the US. Basically, I got it across to the US. No one's even heard about it. Go to these Beatle books that have got guitars, and the guitar's not there. It's not there.
Yeah, and I mean, you do quite a lot of Beatle content. My favorite video that you did was with Michael Lindsay Hogg. You had two-part video with him, and this was before.
Actually,
was it three? Okay.
Yeah, I've got to explain. And in July, before he was working on the Get Back, he's been working on Get Back Peter Jackson for like 3 years, right? I got Michael Lindsay Hogg 2 times in July. Then after the Get Back special was released, I did another interview in December the following year, as soon as Get Back was released. Go for it.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, how does this guy get all these great guests on here? I mean, he's really good at it, because I actually attempted to approach Michael Lindsay Hogg through his website, and I heard crickets. Maybe he heard the review I did of the original Let It Be film. Maybe that's why. But yeah, you do a great job of lining up all these guests. How do you do it?
I just go for it. That's what it is. Because I'm out here in Australia, I feel like that connection helps me more. If I was in the US, it's like I'm competing with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. But being here in Australia, it's me being an Australian and saying, hey, come over and do something with me, and we're going to now get this out to the world from Australia. It's not coming out from the US and it's not coming out from the UK. That's the secret to it, and Michael Lindsay Hogg is one of the greatest and nicest people that you can meet. And after I got the interview, I've got a very good friend, right? Chachi Lapret, who does Breakfast with the Beatles. And we've done many shows. And I've got to tell you, it's not about Plastic EP, right? So I knew I was already going to have an interview with Michael Lindsay Hogg. And I couldn't go ahead and just do it on my own, because I felt if I did it with Chachi, I'm going to get wider space. I'm going to expand this and get more publicity for Michael Lindsay Hogg for doing such a great job. So it was in my heart, and I contacted Chachi, and I knew at least if I asked him, he knows about it, and he knows that I asked him as one of my best friends. But I couldn't do the interview with at least giving the opportunity, saying, listen, I'm doing an interview with Michael Lindsay Hogg. Would you like to come on the show? So I did that, got through to him before the interview, and he couldn't believe it because he's such a big fan of Michael Lindsay Hogg. And here we are 3 interviews later, And to me, it's one of the greatest interviews that's out there. because Michael gets into the nitty gritty and tells me stuff that no one knows. And I'm telling you now, he needed a book. He needed the 1970 Beatles book that came in 1970. You know, you got the album and you got the special Beatles book. And he needed it. I said, listen, Michael, Chachi'd lent me his book because I'd sent Chachi like $100 worth of Australian EPs and records that have never been played since the 60s. Brand new in the box because I never had a record player. And also sent him all these coloured jukebox vinyl that came out on Capitol that are really rare. Yeah. So I didn't care. I just threw everything in the box out of my collection because I love Chachi that much. Cost me a fortune to get it to him. I got it to him. So anyway, in the meantime, I said to him, listen, Chachi, you got 2 of those books from the 1970 box set. Send me one of your books. So he finally said, okay, Plastic, I'll send you one. So I had the book. And then after the interview, Michael Lindsay Hoggs is asking us, he said, I've got to find one of those books from 1970. I haven't got one. I said, listen, Michael, I got a book. And I knew it was Chachi's giving it to me. So I said, I'm happy to send it to you, across to you. And all I want you to do is you can keep it. I don't care if you don't give it back to me. He goes, no. You're a collector. You know, I've got to send it back. This and that. I said, all right. I said, if you're going to do that, can you sign the book? And he goes, all right, I'll sign the book.
Awesome.
I got the book here now. Have you seen it signed?
No.
Okay, hang on a second.
All right, yeah, go grab it. Well, he's getting that. Oh, he's back. Wow. Okay.
So I got everything around me. I live in cyberspace, right? This is the book, right? 1970. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to show you what he signed, and you can read it. And he used it as well for another article because he needed it. He needed it for the first Get Back special. He had to write something about it, right? He needed to write something. So he used it for that, but he also had another interview. He used it for another interview. So what happens is the great thing is Michael Lindsay Hoggs sends me emails, and these emails are so great that I'm just going to keep them just for myself because they're so cool. Thanks so much for lending me your something copy, right? It was a great help when I was writing that article for Airmail. There's a magazine called Airmail. It's on the net. He wrote an article, right? Also, good seeing it. Very best to you, your pal, MLH.
But hey, ladies and gentlemen, I will verify that the Michael Lindsay Hogg interviews the Plastic EP did reveal some very interesting stuff that I had never heard before. And many of his videos, like for example, I'm doing some research on another band video that I'm going to be doing, and this is an exclusive here, Plastic EP. I had was watching your Philip Fang Volk video from Paul Revere and the Raiders, and you spent a good hour talking to him, and he gave some great information on the band history. So I use that to help augment some of my telling. So I really rely on your show to get additional information that you can't find anywhere else.
When I do an interview, they open up to me. They trust me. You know, like I spend half my time editing now. People don't understand. You do 800 shows that I produce as one person. I do the music to it. I already got 2,400 original songs. So no problem doing songs. But what I do is I have to edit these shows to my standard, and I do. And people don't know how many hours and how I've committed myself, right, to 2.5 years to do 800 shows. I haven't made $1 from it. Don't want to make $1 from it. It wasn't monetary. It was to help the world be happy and try and get through COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you started right in early 2020, and I'm surprised.
I started in May.
Oh, May. Okay. So by my calculation, you should be hitting 1,000 about this time next year or before then.
I reckon I'll do it before, but you got to understand now. There's been so much pressure on me, day and night, get up, get this and that. And one thing people don't know, right? If you get up at 4 a.m., 2 a.m., your body clock is not the same. I can tell you now. Do you remember that movie Tron?
Yeah.
I live it. I live in cyberspace. Believe it or not, I'm a human being. Now I'm a cyborg, right? Right. I'm glad you. I love exaggerating. But what happens is I live on the net 24/7. I'm not lying to you. I do not know any human that lives on the net 24/7 can get up any time of the day, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 3 a.m., and does the interviews just for the world. That's what it's been all about.
Now, do you do this full time? You must.
No, I did this interviews 2.5 years, my time, full time to get to where I am.
Yeah,
that's
you
true.
must be. Okay.
But now I'm not killing myself. It's like I want to have a life now after 800. So I know I'll get to 1,000, but I'm in no rush. It's basically now. There's not that pressure now. I'd rather have great quality, interviews than just like interview anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about some of the interviews, my favorites that you've done. Now, you did one recently that I really loved. It was Chip Douglas, the producer of the Monkees. Now, you're a big Monkees fan. And I thought that was another very good interview where he really shared some information that I had never heard before.
From a very early age, I was soaking up American and UK culture, music, personalities, everything. And I remember all these things that I soaked up as a little kid, facts that people don't know that only I remember at the time. Like I can say things at the time from my memory like that people, they've forgotten these things that have happened when these events happened.
I'm going to list off a couple of the other interviews you did, and then I'm going to ask you about some of your favorites. Because I in addition to Michael Lindsay Hogg and Chip Douglas, producer of the Monkees, you've interviewed Glyn Johns, Ron Griffiths of the Ivies, later who became Badfinger.
And he gave me, I think, 2 or 3 interviews, right? And he was telling me things that people don't know. And when I get interviews that nobody knows these facts and I bring them to the world, I feel that I'm doing my job proper. You'll be surprised how much stuff. I'll give you an example. I did an interview with Chacha Lepre. Now, what happens is, if I see something that no one's got, I know I'm on a winner. Watch this. I guarantee you that you've never seen this book in your life. It came out in 1968. What I'm about to show you, you've never seen it. Have a look at this. Have you ever seen that in your life?
I have never seen that.
Right. That's why I got it. That's why it's on my show. Read what it is. It's actually the play to In His Own Right. That was produced by Victor Spinetti. John Lennon had something to do with it. He went, I think, to the opening. Right. Now, look at this book. You've never seen anything like that. It's mint. Came out in 1968. And it's like things like that. I go buy it. I don't get things for free. I know a lot of Beatle people, they get sent stuff.
Yeah.
I don't get sent nothing. If I see something I want for my show to show the world, no expense. I'll go and buy it for that.
He spares no expense, ladies and gentlemen. Aside from the music, you also tackle quite a lot of TV personalities. Was it the woman from the Bugaloos or something? You've had several different.
That's right, Caroline. She's from the Bugaloos.
Yes, I can't remember.
Not only that, yeah, she's a bit Caroline, and not only that, she's fantastic. I also did the guy that's Bingo in the Banana Splits.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I was a big fan of the Banana Splits as a kid. That was a fun show that I watched. One of my earlier memories, that and like HR Puffin stuff and some of those superstar shows.
I interviewed Sid Croft.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, also
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's there. Well, how are you going to find 800? I got these things floating around. I have to use my memory to remember. I even interviewed the kid from Land of the Giants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's another one. See, no one can keep up with Plastic EP. You got to understand how it works with me, right?
I know. I'm 700 videos behind you.
I'm trying to get information out to the world as best I can. Because when Plastic EP does an interview, he's not going around in circles. It's like a dartboard. I go right for the middle, and I get it every time. I haven't got time to. I got information from the UK, right? A UK newspaper printed that Steve Binder is going to do a documentary in 2023 about the 1968 comeback special.
Oh, really?
Stuff that no one knows. Yeah, and he's got a book, which is Elvis, the 1968 comeback special. It's a brand new book. It says Behind the Scenes. That book is already out there now. You should buy it.
Okay, very good. Wow, I did not know about that. See, I always get new stuff from you, Plastic EP.
This is what I'm saying. People don't know, but I'm not an Encyclopedia Britannica where I can tell you everything because I got to bang, I got to go for what did I do? Who did I interview? And what's the relevance, right? It's like an encyclopedia in my head. Because the whole idea about Plastic EP is one day I'll be gone.
Yeah.
But these interviews that I do are going to live forever, and generations to come are going to go, who's this guy? Oh, that's Steve Binder. What did he do? Oh, there it is. I can see it on the wall on my spaceship or wherever they're living in the future. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, tell us some of your favorite interviews because you have so many. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some links to the ones I mentioned, particularly the Michael Lindsay Hogg. But what are some of the favorites that you've done that you really maybe didn't expect much and really got a great interview?
I just got to mention Michael Lindsay Hogg for one fact.
Mhm.
After I did the 3 interviews, there's one thing that sticks in my head every day and doesn't go away. Michael Lindsay Hogg is such an innovator and pioneer ahead of his time. What he did in there in 1969, the Let It Be, the filming in Twickenham Studios, and the Get Back. 60 hours that Peter Jackson made into the 3-part Get Back special. Michael Lindsay Hogg is one of the greatest innovators for film and pioneer. He videoed everything. He audio taped everything. And when he did the interview with me, and he says, did you know that we were going to get the Beatles and we were going to go out to this amphitheater with the sea behind it and the desert in the front. And when the Beatles came to play, I was going to get musical notes on the screen and make them go out on the screen. Now, what I'm trying to say is this place, I believe it's in Tunisia. You look it up. You could have gone to Greece if you wanted to, an amphitheater. They could have gone anywhere. But can you imagine now? We've seen Let Be on the top of the roof at Apple. Okay, I'm not going to knock it. But the Beatles didn't have to make an effort to go up there. Okay, in all honesty, what they do, just go, they're already in the building. But what I'm trying to say is, imagine the idea that you see the Beatles on a beautiful ancient amphitheater with the sea behind them and all these people congregating from wherever in the desert to the sound of the Beatles playing on the amphitheater. That is an idea that's before its time. That would have been the concert of the millennium. I live with that fact that he told me every single day. There's not a day I do not picture that in my head thinking how great that could have been if it happened.
Yeah, the Beatles, that would have been something. I got to believe that the 4 of them would have been very awed and amazed by being in an amphitheater like that, in a location like that. And they probably would have been, it would have been an incredible experience, not just for them, but if it was filmed properly for us as well. But one of those what ifs, you know?
Yeah, but that's like what if before everyone else. That's that. You're talking 1969, 1970. You know, do you just think about it? Can you have a picture? Have you seen a video of the Beatles playing on an amplifier, Get Back in their songs? And all these people are coming, these shepherds or whatever they are, or from the desert. And all these people are congregating to this rock group that's like superstar status. Like, you know, they're number one. But imagine if that was actually filmed and you saw something that you'd never seen before in your life. This is why he's a pioneer. He's a pioneer and he's an innovator. You know, and I love people that are innovators and pioneers in their field.
And
he's the greatest.
And it took 50 years because all the stuff that Lindsay Hogg was doing and was proposing, he was trying to get them to get off their ass and do what they went there to do, and he couldn't do it. And all of his stuff languished for 50 years, and he took a bad rap for that film. And then finally, now he's being vindicated. Unfortunately, well, I should say, fortunately, Peter Jackson did the editing, but Lindsay Hogg he shot everything. He's responsible for capturing all of that.
Yeah, but let me say, without the film, Peter Jackson couldn't make the Get Back specials, okay? That's fact.
Damn
okay?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not going to say any more on the subject, but Peter Jackson did a fantastic job, spent 4 years, did the Get Back special. It's like won awards, it's done everything. It's great. Everybody does what they do in their time. So in other words, this is how I want to make it. 1969, 1970. No, the Beatles are imploding. So Michael Lindsay Hogg is dealing with that problem.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson didn't have to deal with that problem in 2022. Let's get things right.
Yeah.
All he did is get the film and work from there and do his magic. But you understand, when you're actually dealing with those problems and you're face to face with the Beatles, imagine how hard that would have been. And then Let It Be comes out, right? And people are upset, well, the Beatles split. So the timing wasn't great.
Right.
Would you go and see Let It Be if your favorite group of all time split up? I'd be upset. I wouldn't even want to go and see it. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with it at that time.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Lindsay Hogg, the timing was just horrible for him. And like I say, I'm glad he was around to be vindicated and to get the accolades he deserved for the footage that he captured.
Yeah, and the great thing is he became a character in his own documentary I told him, I said, you are a character now in your own documentary of all the film you filmed that you didn't know. You didn't know you're going to be in the film that's being shown now in 2021. And he goes, yeah. I go, how's it feel to be a character? They've immortalized you in your own film.
Exactly.
Michael Lindsay Hogg, right? Michael Lindsay Hogg,
right.
director and producer when he's not directing and producing. And I also said, I got to say something. I said Peter Jackson did a fantastic job lightening the colors on your jacket, because the jacket comes through like, and I asked him about his jacket and his cigar. We didn't have the technology in 1969, 60, 70 to do what Peter Jackson did in 2021. There's another difference.
Yeah, very true. Well, tell me something.
If you want me to go into these interviews, I'll go, but you go first.
Yeah, I wanted to just get a few more favorites of yours, because I went through a couple. You know, you had the drummer from the Status Quo, John Coughlin. I think you interview Clem Catini as well?
Yeah, of course I did. You know how great that drum is? He's played on so many hits, can't remember.
Well, that was one. You did a recent one, Susie Quattro, which I thought was
three
really
of
good.
those. I've interviewed her 3 times.
And
I mean, I'm asking you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you this. You're on the other side of the fence. And this is why I got to explain something. Your opinion means a lot to me, because to me, you are a top, as I said, investigative journalist, where everything you say and all the words you say in your shows, they're right to the point, they're true, and you read and you see angles on things that no one sees, right? That's why I've got the greatest respect for you. Now, you tell me, there's no Australian or anyone in the world that's done over 800 interviews in 2.5 years. Now, it's not a freak. It's because I'm born to do it. Mm-hmm. That is the difference. I can't make this stuff up. I wouldn't have lasted 3 interviews if I had no idea what I'm talking about. And what people don't understand is I don't even have to think, and I can do the interview. I can do an interview cold. People don't believe me. And I can also do 10 interviews a day without a problem. There is no problem.
You seem prepared when I watch your videos, so I'm convinced. And
I've got a problem.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, one of the compliments I can pay you is I use some of your interviews for my research, and it takes and it takes a lot of people like yourself, myself, and all these other people, and to come together and provide this content. And now it's in a place where people can get at it, which I'm doing something similar to you, where I want to leave behind some kind of a historical record of some of these bands, so that they're not forgotten.
Yeah, of course, but you're doing what you love. I'm doing what I love every day. My wife didn't understand. I said there was a problem before where my wife couldn't understand why you're so much in pop culture. Why do you buy all this stuff on pop culture? Why do you know so much? Like, what are you going to do with it? It wasn't until I came in and there was this little window of opportunity because of COVID, and this Plastic EP arrives from nowhere like it came from space, but the guy's been ready since 1978. I'm no overnight success. Let's not get that wrong.
Yeah.
So when you do your research and you know what you're doing, I'm asking you, and you dedicate yourself to only doing that. Do I not deserve to be where I'm going now? My star hasn't faded. But
yeah, exactly.
It's just gone up and up and up and up. And to me, it feels like no challenge.
Well, hey, the hard work always pays off, and the diligent, it's not easy to create content and good content that people want to see all the time. And some of my videos do better than others, because depending on the popularity of the topic, but I always try to bring high quality production to it and try to be prepared so that, people have come to expect that from me. So I've got to maintain that. And it does take time and work and a lot of diligence.
Yeah, but you do, and you love what you do. I mean, look, The Loving Spoonful. I saw your documentary on it. It's just perfect for me. I love The Loving Spoonful. But anyways, I said to you, a while back I was saying, my problem is I multitask. Right, it's true. I don't do one thing. I can do 4 things at once. Right? I tend to, as I said to you, the Beatles were here in 1964 in West Melbourne, right? I'm only 6 years old. How do I understand what the Beatles are at 6? 1967 comes along. The Monkees are on black and white TV here in Melbourne. I understand music now because I'm old enough, between the ages of 8 and 9. I see the Monkees. That's my generation. I can't help it. I'm born on that generation. Like my sister is born on ABBA. But I always say, it doesn't matter where you start your music knowledge or your love of the first group, everyone ends up at the Beatles. And that is a fact.
That's very true. I gravitated to the Beatles right away. I was about 3, 4, well, probably 4 or 5 years old, and didn't know it was the Beatles. I liked the music with these apples on the label, and then it wasn't until I was about 9 when I started listening to the albums, and that's when it really took off for me. So yeah, it's really the music that you take in when you're a kid, oftentimes really sticks with you. So in your case, it was the Monkees.
Yeah, but I understand. The Monkees, let me explain. I'm between the ages of 8 and 9 years old. I see the Monkees, the biggest musical influence in my life, right? Songwriters is Boyce and Hart, who did the early sound of the Monkees. Second person was Mike Nesmith. Now, I'm at a young age of 8 years old, and I'm walking down the street in my suburb, and I can tell you the street. It's Burke Road and Campbell Road, right? And I lived in Campbell Grove, and I was walking somewhere. So I'm walking along the street. Song comes into my head. I'm 8 years old. Just the whole song.
Wow.
And I start singing. I'm giving you the example now. It's called Forget All I Said. It goes, I thought you were meant for me. My eyes were misled. You had someone else I didn't know. Please forget all I said. Forget all I said with you. Forget all I said. Forget all I said to you. Please forget all I said. Right? And then the whole song's in my head. And I'm 8 years old. Then I'm 23 years old, and I sang it the way I sang it on this record, and you can see it.
Oh yeah.
So now you see that came out in 1982, right? Because we were Plastic EP in the records for 1 year. Look up Plastic EP in the records on Google.
Okay.
And you hear our first year worth. This was going to be the third single, right? Because we changed our name from Plastic EP in the records to the EPs to make it easier, because I didn't want like Cliff Richard in the Shadows, but I kept the name Plastic EP. So on my first record, it says Plastic EP in 1981. So that proves to you that Plastic EP is no thing. But let me tell you, I sang that song when I was 8 years old, and I sang it exactly the same way on the record in 1982. Right?
Very cool.
And these are hard to get now. They're collector's items. My first single is worth $500 Australian if you can find it, but you can't find it.
Wow. Very cool.
But everything's on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. You can hear it.
Okay. Well, let me ask a question of you. I've been doing my show now for about 2 years. Well, it'll be going on 3 years at the end of this year. And I would like to, I've had a lot of requests for Australian bands. What Australian bands would you like to see done by me?
Now, Easy Beats are classics. Twilight's are classics.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you about them, because I'm born here and I know.
Mm-hmm.
The Easy Beats were the greatest Australian export. Friday on My Mind was produced by Shel Tamley. Now, you know, I've already interviewed Shel Tamley.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you know I interviewed him?
I did. I haven't watched that one though, I must confess.
He did. You know who he did? He did the Who.
Sure, he did the Creation,
he did
the Kinks. You bet.
Yeah, that's right. So what's that interview?
As you go through the long list of all your videos, people are going to find person after person that have all kinds of interesting pieces of information.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is why I've not even been through even a quarter of your videos yet. I mean, you've got so many. So I think I'm going to put some links on the bottom for people to have a look at some of my favorites. And I'm sure they'll just peruse and go through your stuff as they choose and pick the things they like first.
Now, do you remember in the 60s, there was a band called the Swinging Blue Jeans?
Yeah.
I interviewed the lead singer, right? It was my pleasure to talk to him. And I just put every accolade and every tribute I could give him. Ray Ennis, his name is, right? Okay. The lead singer. Look him up. Swinging Blue Jeans, look up that interview. You know, I just did an interview now during the week. Have you heard of Madeline Bell?
Yeah, sure. I saw that video posted.
Yeah. How great is that? She sang on Power to the People, John Lennon. She sang on Back Off Boogaloo, right? She was one of the biggest artists in the 70s, and she did a song called Melting Pot with a band. I give her a 6-minute tribute. It blew me away. I had tears in my eyes. So did my co-host Sabine from the UK. tears were inside my eyes from just being able to tell her how great she was. That is like the greatest thing.
And the thing is you're catching these people at a time when it's the perfect time, because they're older, they're reflecting a little bit more, and we don't know how long these people are going to be around. So it is important. I'm glad that you took the time and energy to jam 800 videos in about 2 years, because we just don't know how much longer we're going to have these people with us.
But how many great people I interviewed and they've passed away? Mary Wilson from the Supremes, I did an interview. Bobby Rydell, I did an interview. You know, it's just sad. You know what? But they live in those interviews. You watch those interviews and they're telling their real stories. And that's really what matters.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's why I appreciate what you're doing, and I hope I'm able to do something like that as well. And I think it's important for us to have this stuff saved for posterity's sake, so that these people are remembered.
But Matt, I've got to say something. You know what? I'll tell you something. When someone really impresses me, I have no hesitation to say I'm really impressed. With your interviews, I'm so impressed, right? Make no doubt. I hold you up here. I have that much respect for what you're doing on the net. Every day I have, because I sometimes refer and watch interviews and go, hey, this is great stuff. I won't take it to the max like you do. Plastic EP is not about, I'm going to talk about someone, but I'm going to give you 2 scenarios, and this is what I've worked out, what I've figured out. I won't do that, right? Like, you know, you can see what surprises me is you go beyond that. You know, I don't want to get into it. You go beyond it where you can end up in a legal suit. You know what I mean? That's what I respect it.
Well, I mean, everybody's got I offer opinion, and I don't have a lot of, the facts have to rely on other people, like interviews and books and other things that have already been published ahead of me. And I just kind of put the things together like a puzzle.
No, but you understand, that takes guts. Do you know what I mean? Like, people have to understand Plastic EP. What is he? I can tell you something. I take these glasses off. I'm not Plastic EP. You know, Elvira, she dresses up. She's Elvira. That's exactly where Plastic EP is. I'm this character that is like, you know, he basically doesn't put up with crap. That's the first thing. He's got a steely exterior. He knows exactly what's going on. He knows how to do an interview. He knows how to make people feel at home. And Plastic EP is unique, and Plastic EP is one of. And there will never be another Plastic EP. And I'll explain it to you so you can get the breakdown of what I really am. I'm this person of knowledge when it comes to pop culture. It's unbelievable. It's like a force of nature, right? That's the first thing. And then I had 2,400 songs when I started, Matt. And I went to Hollywood, right? And I did the film clip before the COVID started, in being prepared for the day that Plastic EP, you know, comes out, right? So I'd already had the video, and I had 2,400 songs to choose for my show. And I said, it's got to be a special song. And I said, hey, Bananas, We Think You're Groovy is the song that's going to elevate me because it's so way out. The people in the US, they love Way Out. Plus, it's 60s related. It's great. That is the song. You know, I have people watch my interviews to see the song, Hey, Bananas, We Think You're Groovy, and they don't care about the interview. Do you know that? That's true too.
Oh, man.
And no one looks like me, right? The real Plastic EP wears a gold suit, a black T-shirt. That's my image, or be my image. And then I had my shirt. You remember my Western shirt?
Yeah, sure.
I've retired it now. It's done 800 shows. It's with my gold suit there for prosperity, right? It's in a cupboard. I won't wear it, you know, unless it's a special occasion. I won't wear the gold suit. But what I'm trying to say is now Plastic EP has gone now to another level. Like, you know, it's not reinventing yourself. It's like you want to do an interview with me, you're doing an interview with the real Plastic EP, like you always have. But now I'm going to come on the show. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be relaxed. Let's have a great time. And, you know, that's what it is. You know, how many people now contact me and say, can we do an interview? And I say, sure. You know, I don't have to chase them now.
Yeah.
They see
You've got
show.
you've got a
Yeah,
reputation
I've got a
now.
reputation now.
Yeah.
That's right. But it was very hard because I started from nowhere. Joey D, Mr. Peppermint Twist himself. One of the most fascinating interviews you've ever seen. Have you seen that one?
I've not seen Joey D. I got to check that one out. Of the Starlighters.
That one, he tells the biggest stories. He even talks about the Beatles when he was at the Star Club.
Oh, yeah.
And in Sweden or something, he gave him a party. And then when the Beatles went to America, they told him, oh, we'll come and see it at the Peppermint Lounge. And he goes, oh, yeah, sure, you'll come and see me. They went to see him.
They did. You are correct.
Yeah, they went to see him. And then there's more stories that he tells. Let me tell you the stories that blow your mind. Guess what? He gave the start to the Ronettes. He was on stage and the girls came up and said, we want to sing on the stage. And he looked at them and said, even if they can't sing, they look good. They're great. He let them sing on the stage. Then he took them on tour with him, right? So that's that. And you know what? He had three members of the Young Rascals in his band, in his backing band. And then they became the Young Rascals. How great is that? But you know which one's going to blow your mind? 1965. Guess who's playing in his backing band?
Jimi Hendrix?
Exactly. How did you know that?
I think I might have come across that one. I don't remember, but I guess that was an educated guess.
Can you imagine Jimi Hendrix
with Joey D and the Starlighters
gets driven to his house, to Joey's house, right? And Joey listens to him and he knows that he's great. Says, yeah, you got the job, this and that. And then Jimi Hendrix lights up a joint in his house and his wife kicks Jimi Hendrix out and says, don't you smoke anything in my house, and runs him out the streets. And Joey D's going, see you Friday for rehearsal.
That one, nobody knows that.
He says it. And I said to Joey, you know what I said? Everything revolves around you, right? At 45th Street. Because if you listen to the song Peppermint Twist, he sings Meet You Down 45th Street. Guess where Jimi Hendrix was staying? At a hovel at 45th Street.
Wow.
Yeah, look, watch the interview. You got to watch the interview. I gave him the biggest tribute I can give, same as I gave Chris Montez Let's Dance. Yeah. You know the unbelievable Beatles stories he says on that show? He told me things that no one said. I'll give you an example, right? He's the headliner with Tommy Rowe, who sang Sweet Little Sheila in 1963 in March, before the Beatles make it. He's the top act going around England on tour, and the Beatles are the underdogs underneath. No one knows them. The next month later, the Beatles take off, and they finished recording the album Please Please Me, and Chris Montez is the first person to hear the album Please Please Me, and he tells you all about it. Then what happens is they had a party, and Chris Montez is sleeping in the bus, and John Lennon got a beer and poured it on his head while he's sleeping. And they had a fight in the bus. Yeah, they had a fight in the bus. But that's rock and roll. You've got to hear these stories. Elevate myself. See, I'll give you an example. Heartbeat is a love beat. Tony DeFranco, right?
And the DeFranco family.
I love that song so much that I chased down Tony. He's in real estate. Said, Tony, I've got to interview you. Do you know how great you are? Right? And what happens is the guy's Italian nationality, and I got him on FaceTime in my family butcher. And I said, hey, Tony, this is before the interview, have a look at the meat specials. And I'm showing him on FaceTime, we're having a laugh. Every Saturday, Plastic EP's got a radio show called Plastic EP's Beatles Hour. Okay, it's great. It's on Johnny Rock and Roll Radio. Look it up, www.johnnyrockandroll.org. 9 a.m. Eastern time, New York time. It plays for an hour, then it's repeated at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's made my day talking to you, because I've got to tell you something. As a person, I love you. I want you to know that, really, seriously. You're just like one dynamo, like Plastic EP that like rolls like a gear. You're the same. You're doing exactly what I'm doing at a different level, and it networks. Your interviews are very important, and I hear them and I love them. I love your shows. I want you to know that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And same goes for your shows too, and your interviews and your hard work, because I use that for some of my research, and I can't get it anywhere else. So I really appreciate your work as well. So, ladies
I
and
can't thank you
gentlemen,
enough.
I'm gonna put the links to several of my favorite videos of plastic EPs below, and a link to see all these other 800 shows as well. So you're gonna find something that you're gonna really like, I guarantee it. And thank you for watching Pop Goes the 60s.